Hello, salty goodness.
Oh,
We should have put that up here.
No.
Hey everyone, welcome back to our channel.
Hello.
We are talking about Buffy the Vampire Slayer. We are on episode 5, which is called Never Kill a Boy on the First Date. And
Hell of a title.
it's a mouthful, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But one of the most famous sayings from Buffy, or most well-known sayings from Buffy, comes from that episode. And, you know, if the apocalypse comes, beat me. And that dates the show as well.
Yeah. Well, and there were a couple moments, which we'll get to, where it was the whole like, oh no, they have a way to get to her, even though they don't really have cell phones. But it was just one of those like, oh right, he has to find a landline to beat somebody. This is dumb. Anywho, so this episode starts in media res, as it were, which is kind of weird for the show so far. I don't know if
What does in media res mean?
like in the middle of the action.
Okay.
Like, so they start out. It's Giles and Buffy in a graveyard, I think.
Yeah.
Like in the middle of a fight with a vampire. Like it starts with her like swinging something and hitting him or whatever,
Yeah.
and then like saying something. What does she say?
Oh, I'm Buffy in your history.
Yeah. And then stakes him, and then to dust and everything. And then she turns to Giles and starts talking about something, and starts talking about like being tired of hunting, I guess, and wanting to have more of a social life, which is kind of the theme of this episode. I think that's what it's what
so,
she's
yeah.
talking to him. Anywho, so I just thought that was kind of an interesting way to start, because I think that's the only one so far that started off that way.
Yeah.
Most of them start off with like, we just we find them like hanging out somewhere or talking or whatever, not literally in the middle of things already happening. So that was kind of interesting. And this is probably just me, and I mentioned this while we were watching it. I guess it goes over, or it clips over to the Master.
Yeah.
And we start hearing about this prophecy thing or whatever in his book about some prophecy that's been foretold that's supposed to happen soon, that he's been planning on or whatever, and telling his little minions and underlings not to screw it up for him. But I thought it was weird. I thought the Master sounded different in this epised.
Yeah, and as far as I
just imagined
know,
it.
it's the same person. I don't think they ever switched actors or anything like that.
Maybe it has something to do with how you were saying that their prosthetic teeth.
Yeah.
Maybe they found better versions for
Or
them
maybe they
something.
started making, like, I don't know if they started that during the season, though, like, making them, like, custom to the people who are going to be regulars on the show.
Yeah.
And definitely people who are going to be regulars in speaking.
Oh, yeah, sure. Well, maybe they just changed something about their sound process.
I mean, and he seems more serious in this episode as well. Not that he wasn't serious
That is true.
in previous episodes, but there was kind of like an era of, like, not silliness, but like,
yeah, kind of kitschy, like,
yeah,
just
then,
like over or what, like heightened reality kind of.
Yeah, and then this episode, he seems very like, okay,
business-like.
it's business time, like,
yeah,
maybe about to go down.
It's about to go down.
That might just be what I was noticing, because he just sounded like he had more weight and oomph to his voice. Maybe he just has more gravitas or whatever.
Yeah.
And then we get into the title break, and then into the episode proper.
Did you notice? I think this is the first episode where they didn't have the voiceover in the beginning.
Oh yeah, you're right. It just goes into the song.
Yeah.
But no, I didn't notice that while we were watching
Yeah.
it. But now that you reminded me, I do recall that. Yeah, it didn't say that every generation there will be.
I was waiting for you to say something because I know that's your favorite part.
Oh yes. So we catch back up on Giles talking about how he has to search his texts and all of that. And
because they found a ring.
yeah, that's right. They find and they comment on how this one's different. Normally they're just hunting for no reason or whatever, and they found a ring at the site this time, and we're commenting on how this
Maybe
isn't normally how
maybe
it
it's like a
goes.
more serious thing, like something's coming or what have you.
So I thought it was kind of interesting, and it may have just been written this way so that they could set it up for a different segue or something. But so Giles is running around the library and going through his texts and looking for everything. He's looking, or she's describing the symbol on the ring that they found, and it's she says it's a sun and 3 stars, and says, "Does that ring any bells, or have we seen that before?" And he says, "No, I haven't found anything, and I've been looking through all of my texts and searches and all that." And then she just like flips to a random page and goes, "Oh, here it is."
Yeah.
Like it just seemed kind of out of character for him to not be able to find anything after looking for a while, and then she just happened upon it after remembering it.
Yeah, and she just, I mean, weird. She does say that, hey, this looks familiar. Like,
yeah, she does remember.
Yeah, so maybe she's been being a good slayer and, just kind of like reading some texts or like browsing through them or whatever.
Or maybe it's something she's come in contact with before and it's just stuck in her memory more, because I'm sure the pool of stuff that he's pulling from is probably a lot wider.
Yeah.
Like textual, material, not necessarily experiential material.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a weird kind of deal, because he's normally the like human book essentially, or the human encyclopedia. So kind of stood out to me. So then we meet, what's his name, Owen, who is reading, was it Dickinson?
Emily Dickinson.
And
Emily Dickens.
And I can't remember exactly what it is, but she's all enamored with him because he's a more sensitive guy who reads and all that kind of stuff, and is telling Willow and Xander about it. And Willow like calls her out for like not really reading.
Oh, she's like, but you don't read Emily Dickinson or
That's
something
right.
like that. And then like Buffy like lays the book down. She's like, Vixen.
Yeah, that's right. I just thought it was kind of funny. It's like, oh, she's into a dude because he reads. But she doesn't really read that much herself. It was just kind of a funny.
And let's be honest, he's not bad to look at.
Oh, well,
he's a very handsome guy.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that is a big part of it too.
Well, sure, of course.
So, I see your note says that you thought he was.
Yeah. Well, and like you had commented while we were watching, like he's as you go through the episode, he's clearly into the more like brooding, macabre kind of stuff, and it just seems like. Dude comes out of nowhere, seem like into like all this weird kind of dark stuff. Like, I believe this is going nowhere.
That's why you said that, because he said something like, I really like how they like no one's concerned that this dude's just like going along to the funeral home with them and is all interested and okay with everything.
Yeah,
and because he thought he was part of like this sect that the guy, the vampire that had the ring, the Order of Aurelius or whatever.
Yeah, I thought it was gonna be like he was involved somehow, not necessarily. So okay, so the prophecy thing that you hear about is 5 will die, 1 will rise, and it will be the, what do they call them?
Anointed.
The anointed, and then that's who the master is going to use to help break the spell, so he can get out and all of that, and that this is a big important thing or whatever. And we hear that repeated a couple times throughout the episode, and they mention how. She will not stop him, she will not find him, or something like that. And so I figured it was going to be that, like, he was distracting her from being out there and being active, like, trying to figure things out or whatever, because he was part of this order or whatever. Clearly I was wrong. I guess he starts, like, hinting that he wants to ask her out.
Well, they are at lunch, and Buffy goes to sit with him, and then Cordelia, like, muscles her way in first and sits down, knocks Buffy's stuff over. And Cordelia's trying so hard to like talk to this dude and get him interested in everything like that, and he clearly is just like very like interested in Buffy. And Cordelia talks to him about like, oh, we're all gonna go to the Bronze tonight, are you gonna come? He goes, oh, who else gonna be there? And she was like, well, besides me. And then he asked Buffy if she's going, and then basically asks her if she wants to meet him there, like go together or whatever.
Yeah, so I made a note. Cordelia says, we'll be loitering at the Bronze tonight.
Well, like just hanging out.
It's a very specific word choice, and I thought it was weird.
I feel like every word in this show is a very specific choice.
Oh yeah, I mean I'm sure it's done not specifically to stand out, but to characterize and just be like, oh, hey, they talk this way.
Yeah.
But yeah, I will admit, it was very nice to see Cordelia be summarily dismissed and ignored the entire episode because she sucks. Although, I was kind of surprised. I mean, I know it's pretty much just because they use her in this episode to prop her up for those kind of reaction, or those kind of things to happen, is specifically for her to chase after somebody and get ignored.
Yeah.
So, but I thought it was weird that they either didn't use her more or she just wasn't in the episode hardly at all.
Yeah.
It just seemed like a weird, like they were going to, like there was going to be more for her to do, but then there wasn't, kind of thing. I don't know, just something I noticed.
Oh, so they went to the bronze.
Yeah. Oh, well, so, and she's late.
Yeah, because Giles makes her
he's
go on the hunt because, according to his calculations, tonight is the night that the anointed, or that night is the night that the anointed was going to rise or whatever.
Yeah, which he says is going to happen on, like, the eve of the sept or something like that. Which I was wondering if they were going to get into the whole, like, calendar, how there were 2 months added to the calendar, and the sept is like what we call September used to be the 7th month, but now it's the 9th month. I didn't know if they were gonna get into that, but they didn't. So.
Yeah, I don't think that they get that in depth with stuff like that.
Yeah, which, I mean, sure, that makes sense. It's just kind of boring history stuff that doesn't necessarily have a place. But they were talking about when it was, which is why I wondered. And he said, if I'm right, I think that's tonight or whatever. But, so he makes her go out on, and be on vigil or whatever.
On patrol.
And...
Nothing happens.
Yeah, and so she's late to get to the bronze. They're clearly out there past 8. It's, like, way dark and all that. And I thought it was kind of funny. She was wearing a, tiger stripe fuzzy hoodie or whatever.
Yeah, like an animal print hoodie.
Which I thought was funny because I could absolutely see somebody in high school wearing something like that today. Mm-hmm. And in fact, I'm pretty sure I've seen kids at school
I would
wearing
wear
stuff
something
like
that today.
Yes.
But yeah, so she gets to the bronze and Cordelia's dancing with Owen, and like it's very obvious that Owen is not interested. He's not looking at her. He keeps like looking away, like, and she keeps like touching him, and he's just like whatever. And then poor little Buffy doesn't see it that way, and she gets upset and she leaves. Like her face when she walks in and sees him dancing, like you can just, I don't know if y'all have ever had a crush on someone that you really like, and then you walk in and see them like talking to somebody else or like just something, and then just in the pit of your stomach, it just is like, it hits you like right there. That was her face. I remember how that feels, and I felt that.
Yeah. Like, like she said.
You know what I'm talking about?
She definitely sells it. Like, she just looks extremely crestfallen.
I love Sarah Michelle Gellar. She's great.
She doesn't look like comically overplayed or anything. Like, oh, woe is me or anything like that. It's a very believable, just like...
Yeah. It's like you're in public, like you can't really react or anything, but you just see it and you're just like...
Oh, yeah, okay, just...
Okay. Yeah. So, I love her for that.
But yeah, I did also think it was interesting how, like she said, he's very clearly not into it, and it was just kind of funny to see how they do a good job of this throughout the show so far. They're high school kids. Like they don't really know themselves very well. They don't know the world and how other people work very well yet. Like she didn't even pick up on that at all, which is something that's made very clear to the audience throughout the whole thing. He's not interested in Cordelia. He is only interested in her. And I thought it was kind of nice kind of interesting how they don't, like she doesn't pick up on that at all.
Yeah.
Because that's pretty realistic. I feel like that's probably how it would have gone.
Yeah.
Because everything in high school is the most important, and we just can't see outside of ourselves hardly at all.
Yeah. So she's upset and goes home or whatever, and then I did want to take a moment to talk about Xander in this episode.
Oh yeah, I have a little note about that.
He is very obviously jealous of Owen, and gets a little like possessive and kind of creepy like later on in the episode and stuff. Did you get that vibe at all? Like when
Yeah.
So what happens is,
But less so than in the past, I guess. It didn't seem as like mean-spirited isn't the right word, but it just seemed like he was just frustrated that he just felt invisible.
yes,
And he wasn't like trying to trash talk him so much as say, "Hey, forget about that guy. I'm also here. I do these things that you claim to, like I can read, that kind of stuff."
Yeah.
Like, it didn't seem like he was. I don't know. It didn't seem as like overtly horrible. It was just like, please look at me for the love of God. Why am I always ignored? Kind of thing.
I see that. But so what happens? Like they go to school the next day. Buffy finds out that
He was with Cordelia.
he asks her out, I think, and then she said, "Oh well, I heard last night you were, all you and Cordelia were like all over each other or whatever." Oh, and her excuse, like she makes some excuse when he asked her where she was about like clocks, and they don't have clocks in their house.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
Well,
That's a silly excuse. But
That was something I commented on too while we were watching. Was like literally anything.
Well,
like,
Xander had like the best idea. He's like flat tire.
Yeah, exactly. I think mine was like, tell him your mom made you stay home and cook dinner, or like literally anything.
But anyway, so he asks her out, like her specifically out on a date and says, "Well, I'll pick you up," and blah blah blah.
Oh, and he's real smooth and is like, "Here, I'll let you borrow my watch." Yeah.
And then I didn't like that he was like, "I'll pick you up at 7. And he goes, "That's when this hand is like right here."
The short hand is on the 7.
I was like, but Buffy thought it was cute. I didn't think it was cute. I thought it was like,
yeah.
I can see why that would be considered like cute or smooth or whatever, but
I think they were just going off of the whole "we don't have clocks." He was just making sure, here's a clock. Want to make sure you don't, you know how to read it.
Him giving the clock is fine. Like, just, I don't know if he, like, I'm sure he was joking about, like, that's where this, like, that. I'm sure it was just a little joke, but I don't know. And I don't think it's ever bothered me before, but watching it this time, it really bugged me.
Fair enough.
I don't know.
It didn't really bother me at all. Like, I didn't think there was literally anything more by it or anything behind it other than, like, hey, I want to make sure that you actually make it this time, so I'm going to do this and make a little dumb joke about it or whatever.
Well, like I said.
And I mean, I think it's really just down to personal taste. Like, some people might not find that as funny as others do.
Like I said, like, I see where they're going with it, and it never bothered me before.
Yeah. Yeah, because I didn't really think about it when it happened at all.
Yeah.
But I can see why some people wouldn't really find that funny.
Yeah.
Either way. And then, so after that, we go back. We cut over to they're at Buffy's house getting ready for their date.
Yes,
and Xander is there.
Creepy.
Yeah. Well, first of all, why is he even there? Why do they have him? Well, yeah, but okay. One, from his point of view, why the hell is he there helping her get ready for a date with another dude when he likes Buffy so much? Like, being over there to try and sabotage her or something like that, that's dumb and stupid. Like, why would you even put yourself in that scenario? I mean, again, high school kid.
Yes.
But yeah, I just thought that was weird. I thought about that from my point of view. Like, if I were friends with somebody, or if I had feelings for somebody that I was friends with that went out on a date with somebody else or whatever, I would not want to be there when they're getting ready to go on that date. Like, just because, especially if I felt crappy about, like, always feeling invisible or ignored or whatever, because you're just going to get that. You're just going to feel more invisible and ignored because this is specifically about that other person. It just seemed like a dumb decision for him to put himself in that scenario. And then also, from their perspective, why would they want him there?
Well, I mean, he's a core part of the group. When I was in high school, I had friends that were guys, and we would, like, the whole group would like all like hang out together all the time.
Well, I mean, I get that, but like, were your guy friends there when you were getting ready for dates?
Well, I didn't really go on dates in high school.
Okay, well, all right.
Late bloomer.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like it's their core. They're like
Yeah, they're the group. Yeah, I
Words.
understand.
And he probably just wants to be a part of it, and they're not gonna have him not be a part. Like just because
They're
I
not
mean,
gonna
they're-
they're not gonna force him out
Right,
because this
and
is
they
specifically
probably-
girl time or whatever.
yeah, and they
I mean,
probably don't even
yes.
think of it as being specifically girl time. They're
Yeah.
probably like, oh, we're friends, you know.
Yeah, I guess.
Whatever. But like Xander gets creepy because when Buffy's gonna change, they like look at him
Yeah.
and he goes, "You're not bothering me." And so then like he turns around or whatever. But he turns around and there's like a mirror right there. So he's like trying to like fiddle with the mirror. So,
Oh,
like,
that's what he dropped.
yeah, that he, like,
because it was
messed
like a
up
little
the
music
mirror.
box or something like that.
Yeah.
I was taking notes, so I just looked up when I heard him drop stuff, and I didn't
Yeah.
see what it was.
So yeah, he's getting a little desperate to like, I don't know what he was thinking in those moments. Being a boy, I guess, but I mean, shouldn't really try and spy on your friend getting undressed,
No.
whether you like her or not.
Well, they also probably like I don't know. It's just a weird situation. Why would they let him be in the room while she's changing clothes?
They probably don't even think about him.
Why would he be? Well, yeah, but that's why we have like changing rooms at stores. Like you don't just
Right.
change in front of other people.
Right, but best friends or whatever.
I guess, but I mean, I don't know. I don't feel like most high school girls would feel comfortable changing in front of their guy friends.
Well, it's already been established that Buffy thinks of Xander as one of the girls.
I guess that's true. I
And
don't
she
know.
was like drunk sick from the witch episode.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know. It
Yeah,
seemed
the
kind
whole
of weird to
situation
me.
is weird, and
Well, it seemed weird is a good way of putting it, but it just seemed like they did it that way just because they wanted them all to be able to interact in that moment. So it
Oh,
was just
yeah.
slightly more manufactured, so
obviously,
it wasn't
yeah.
quite natural. I
Yeah.
guess is really all I'm saying. But I mean, again, TV show.
yeah,
Turn off brain. Just watch. No, thank you.
yeah.
Yeah.
But
anyway.
Giles comes over.
Which is even weirder.
Well, because
Again-
he's worried about like the Anointed Rising, and
He's
he
an
was
adult, and they are students. Also, where the hell is her mom? I don't know. I just thought that
She's
was
at
super
work.
weird.
Like, that's what I'm going with. She's at work.
I mean, okay, that's fine, but like, I don't know. I just thought that was obviously we, the audience, know why he's there, but like, what's his name? Owen shows up to pick her up for their date, and Giles is there talking to all three of them, and just goes like, "Oh wow, you're really dedicated to your job." Like, I would probably be really weirded out if I came over to somebody else's house and there was a teacher there. Well, he's not a teacher; he's a librarian, but like. That's real strange.
I
That's
mean, I
really
really feel like they could have done better with the excuses, like not just the library, but they could have been like, you know, he's like tutoring her or something,
Yeah.
something
Yeah,
like
there's
that.
that.
That's
Yeah.
a little bit more believable.
Yeah, what does he say? He's like, yeah, because the reasoning they gave doesn't really help situations, or the situation either. That he's like chastising her for having late books out or whatever, and he's like threatening her to return them, whatever. Like, that's a weird look, dude. Anyhow.
I don't think he said that. I think somebody else said it.
Oh, maybe he just went
And then
with it.
I mean, obviously he would have to go with it. 'Cause,
Yeah.
But that scene is where like our little quote comes from.
Yeah, she beat me. or
Yeah.
whatever.
Did you have a beeper? Or
No.
I had a beeper. I got one when I turned 16. It was red. It was pretty cool.
I mean, cell phones were pretty normal by the time I was driving. I didn't have one until I got a car, though. Or I think it was like when I turned 16, I got a cell phone or something
Yeah,
like that.
I didn't have a cell phone until I was like 20.
No, maybe I wasn't. I know I had one when I got a car, and I didn't get a car until
Did
I
you
was
have one
like
in high school?
17 and a half. Yeah, it would have been my junior year.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I turned. Let's see here. I can't remember. I don't remember what year I turned 17 in. I think it was my junior year.
He's like 4 years younger than me, so
Yeah.
a lot of this stuff doesn't.
Timelines don't always line up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it doesn't seem like it's that much time, but like beepers were all the rage when I was in high school, and then cell phones are normal by the time he's in high school. So, that kind of just shows how quickly
Yeah, difference between late
Yeah.
90s and early 2000s doesn't sound like it would be that drastic, but it really was. I
Yeah.
mean, like she said, so my mom's a nurse, and working in the hospital and that kind of stuff, like doctors had beepers, like that was just a thing if you needed to be on call. I'm pretty sure she had a beeper so that she
my
could
mom
go
had
out and do
my mom's
stuff.
a nurse as well. She had beeper.
Yeah.
Also.
So they were definitely a very popular thing because they weren't crazy expensive either. So, but then as soon as cell phones started becoming popular, and then once they became affordable, I feel like that beepers disappeared entirely.
Yeah.
They go off to their date or whatever, and Giles and Xander grabs Willow and Giles and brings them over into the other room and was like, hey, they're going on a date, you can't make this weird anymore, they're going, we'll go and follow them or whatever and make sure they're okay or something like that. And then that's when they go, is that when they start going to the funeral home like that?
No, Buffy and Owen went to the Bronze, and
Sorry.
Giles himself went to the funeral home.
That's right. And that's when
Willow and Xander decided to follow him just in case he needed help.
Yeah, and then it ends, or it cuts to commercial right as he gets ambushed by two vampires. And that's when I had that moment of okay, you need to call landline. Shit. Damn it.
Their date's going pretty good, it seems. They're talking and dancing and stuff, and Cordelia sees them, and she comes over and she was like, oh, I didn't know, look at you here all by yourself.
Yeah,
and he
she's
was
the
like, no, I'm
worst.
here with Buffy. And she was like, oh, well, you want to dance? He goes, no, I'm still here with Buffy.
Yeah.
And
treats her entirely like a non-entity.
yeah,
Ugh,
but
she
Buffy was
sucks.
she was cool about it. She was like, you need to go away or something. I forget what she says.
Or, you need to be somewhere, which means away or something.
Yeah.
I can't remember the exact
Yeah.
phrasing, but it was tactful and assertive, but not mean or anything like that.
And then, so I guess,
Which is very on brand for her.
yeah. So Giles is being attacked back at the funeral home. He barricades himself in this room. He's trying to figure out how to get out, and Willow and Xander pop up in the window, but there's bars on the window, so you can't get out that way.
Yeah, it's a nice little moment.
Yeah, so we're like, well, okay, we'll go get her, because she's like, oh, Giles says, oh, she has that beeper thingy, or I forget what word, he doesn't call it a beeper or whatever.
Yeah.
But there was no phone in the room that he was in, I guess, so they're like, okay, we'll go get her. So cut back to the Bronze. Owen goes to get Buffy food or a drink or something, and Angel walks in, and Cordelia, who's been complaining
creeping in from
the
the shadows
whole time, she's complaining about Owen and
Well,
Buffy.
what does she say right before he walks in? It's she's talking about Buffy. I was like, ugh, is that even legal? Throwing yourself so desperately at somebody in public? Ugh. And then Angel walks in, and what was it that she says?
Hello, salty goodness.
Ugh.
Oh, we
God,
should have
it's
put
so
that
good.
up here.
No. Jesus. What? Salty goodness? That is.
I like salty things.
Well, yeah, but calling somebody salty just oh, no.
No.
That's just
Does that do it for you?
It's just it just gives me the mental image of somebody being dirty and sweaty and just not clean.
Yeah.
Ugh. But yeah, and then immediately proceeds to throw herself at him in an extreme desperate fashion, which was
He doesn't
hilarious.
even notice that she's there. He
yeah.
just keeps walking to Buffy, and she was like, what is happening? This is not fair.
Oh yeah, why does this keep happening to me? Of course, because the whole world, everything is about her.
Yeah.
Ugh.
But I noticed this time around, which I never noticed before, I never paid attention to Angel's face whenever Owen's first walking up to them after Angel's talking to Buffy and stuff. His face is just I don't even know how to describe it. Y'all go back and watch it because it's just there. He just gets this like smirk on his face, like I don't know.
Oh, kind of like a knowing look, like oh, you're trying to date.
Yeah, like
that's
aw,
cute.
isn't this like it's just really funny, and I had never noticed it before, so that like made me giggle a little bit.
What I noticed about Angel in this scene, which I think I mentioned while we were watching, it seemed very, very similar to Edward in the very beginning of Twilight, where he's like watching her and talking to her like here and there, but like keeping his distance or whatever.
Yeah.
Like and his whole look and everything too, specifically the hair and all of that. But like I wonder if there was any influence there about like modeling him after Angel for the Twilight movies or whatever.
Maybe.
Because they seemed
They
like
kinda
I
have
was
the same
getting a lot of
hair.
those same vibes. But yeah, anywho.
Yeah, I mean they're both broody vampires.
Well, exactly. Yeah, that's what made me wonder. That is, I wonder if that's kind of what they were thinking of, like when they were modeling after,
Yeah.
or, putting them together or whatever. But yeah, and then Xander and Willow show up
Yes.
very shortly after, and it gets immediately awkward.
Yeah, and they're trying to like figure out how to like get Buffy out, and then Owen is just like dopey and wants to go like I don't know. So then Xander's like, oh, we figured we could double date or whatever, and Buffy does try and get rid of him and tell him not to come, but he ends up following them and showing up to the funeral home anyway.
Yeah, and it's I thought it was kind of funny when they were explaining the whole like, oh, we thought we would go on a double date, and then they look over at Angel and it's like, and he's also here.
Let's all go somewhere together.
Yeah, exactly. It's like this is not very well thought out, bud. Yeah, it was a funny little moment, and Owen. Oh, and then they suggest going to the funeral home, and Owen's all about it. He's just like, oh yeah, cool, that sounds great. Like, where the fuck is this coming from, friend?
Yeah.
That's not a normal thing that kids are into.
Well, we did have, like, when they were talking at the Bronze earlier, he talked about, like, how, he reads Emily Dickinson, which is not, like, sunshine and roses.
Yeah, he seems like the kind of person who would sit and, like, obsess over the fucking bell jar and that kind of shit.
Yes. Yes.
I'm just gonna go stick my head in an oven. Sorry.
Ow, ow, ow.
Okay.
Oh, dang, she just scratched the crap out of me.
Jesus.
Oh my god.
I'm so sorry. Holy crap, she did.
I mean, it's not deep, but it hurt.
Don't do that. Don't hurt her. I like her. Oh, she's shoulder cat, by the way, so she'll probably just live up here for a minute.
Zelda, ladies and gentlemen. Yes.
Anywho.
So they're at the funeral home. Buffy finds Giles.
Yeah,
she sends Owen and everyone to like a safe room.
Well, so when she finds Giles, that's one of my favorite moments in the entire episode. She walks in the room and is looking around, and like things are clearly disheveled from an like a fight or tussle or whatever. And she's like, Giles, and then you hear like something happen off screen or whatever, and he throws the door open and like slides himself out of one of the like body storage containers or whatever. And she goes, what happened in here? It's like, oh, they came after me, and clearly I was too much for them. By which I mean I hid.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, there it is. All right, cool.
Yeah.
And then like climbs out, or no, and he says, my friend here was willing to let me hide with him or something. It's like he's just sitting on top of a carcass. So that was fun.
Corpse?
Either
I mean, I like
corpse. I mean, whatever. Okay, a dead body. Pretty. Yeah, words. I don't know.
But yeah, so they are. Willow, Xander, and Owen are in like a safe room, and Xander and Willow proceed to barricade the door with like the couch and cushions and a lampshade and a lamp.
Pillow.
It's just like it's ridiculous.
Oh, come here, kitty. Okay.
And so Owen's just like looking around, and then he like touches this button, and it like makes curtains part. And then he was like, before they got there, he was like, ooh, do you think we'll see a dead body? He's like super stoked about the possibility of that.
He like pulls a cord or pushes a button and just goes,
And then he was like, oh man, like, there it is. There's a dead body on a slab. Of course, it was like covered up by a sheet.
Well, I thought it was weird because if you look at the door when they're going in the room before they close it and barricade, it says observation room or like family or private observation room or something. And then the area that he opens up and you get to see is like, looks like a medical, like a prep room.
Yeah.
And that would not be in the same room. I thought that was weird. Hi.
Yeah.
But so that was just a funny little deal because he pushes the button or whatever and like something opens and it's like very like cool white like medical light, you know, like a hospital or whatever. So I just thought that was kind of strange.
And he was like, oh man, dead body. Are they supposed to move? Because like the arm was starting to move. And then, we didn't even talk about,
the bus.
So earlier,
I just thought about
the
that.
same night that Giles had predicted, it just wasn't super obvious. There was an airport shuttle that had 5 people on it. The vampires made it crash, killed everybody on board. So there's our 5. And one of the dudes that was killed is now waking back up because he's been made a vampire.
Talking all creepy about like, sounded like he was quoting like weird, like sounds like scripture, but it's not scripture. It's just like that old style language and just like talking like quoting stuff at everybody.
Are you worthy? Will you be worthy?
Yeah,
like stuff like that.
Getting all creepy.
So of course in your head you're thinking, okay, this dude's probably
this is the
guy. This is the anointed. And so he, is a vampire now and everything, and he breaks the glass with his head.
Yes.
Yeah. He was like, that's how I would have done it. And then proceeds to chase them, through the funeral home, and I guess back to the area where Buffy and Giles were.
Yeah, I think they all end up in the same room together, fighting and everything.
Yeah.
And then he starts, or I guess Owen tries to like defend Buffy or somebody, and like they all get
Buffy
involved.
down or something.
And then he hits Owen and like knocks him up against the deal, and she gets all pissed off.
Yeah, like because
you killed my date.
Because Owen passed out, looked like he was dead, and she was like, "You killed my date," and that's when she got serious and like, So Buffy gets the guy in the.
Loses it on him.
Yeah, and then he ends up going in the.
Well, so like when she starts saying all that and like wailing on vampire guy or whatever, she's saying like, "You killed my boy," or "You killed my date," or whatever. And he starts moving, and they all notice it. And somebody's about to say, or Willow's about to say something, and Xander goes, "No, just
give her a minute.
Hold up."
Like,
as he's like beating the shit out of him.
And Xander was right. Like, Willow, shut up. Like, this dude is gonna kill you all. Like, let her kill him, and then let her see that he is alive.
Yeah. And then she throws him into the furnace or whatever, and then Owen comes to. He's like, "Oh. What happened to that guy?" She goes,
like, we scared him.
He ran away or something. Yeah.
We scared him off.
He was
like,
ignore the fire in the corner.
I was. Well, it wouldn't be in the corner. It was in the.
Well, not in the corner, but like
it was in our room.
Well, yeah, but it has a giant window, and you can see flames coming up.
Yeah.
Anyway, I just thought it was funny. Like, don't pay attention to that.
I mean, he'd been knocked out. He probably wouldn't pay attention to anything.
Probably.
And then Buffy offers to walk him home, and he was like, "No, So we're like, oh man." This was too much for him.
Yeah. So, okay. The whole "you killed my date" thing through the rest of the episode, real weird. Like, there's a lot of, like, couple things that happen in really short order that just kind of, like, don't make... Not that they don't make a lot of sense to me, but they just kind of seemed like odd choices. We'll keep going and I'll explain it as we go.
Okay. So... Buffy offers to walk him home. He's like, "No, that's okay. I'll go by myself." And then Xander and Willow step up and they're like, "We'll make sure he gets home okay."
Yeah. Yeah. He's like, "Where is home?"
Yeah.
He's just still clearly out of it.
Yeah. And then does it cut to school the next day?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, because they're walking through the courtyard or whatever, talking about how Buffy's asking Willow and Xander,
"Oh yeah,
has he mentioned me? Have y'all seen him? Has he said anything or whatever?" And they're like, "I don't think so. I haven't seen him." Or whatever.
So we're all like, okay, well, clearly that was too much for him. He's probably not going to want to see her anymore. And then he walks up and you know, basically was like, oh, hey, like, you know, I want to hang out with you some more. Like, when can we do stuff like we did last night again? So clearly he has, like, not a death wish, but, like,
yeah, he
a
goes...
weird, like, adrenaline. He's, like, a weird adrenaline junkie, like, for, like,
yeah, like,
death and
yeah,
danger. There we go.
Yeah, just
like,
dangerous situations.
Dangerous situations.
Yeah, so he mentions when they're on their date at the Bronze about how he was kind of like lived a sheltered life, like upbringing, all that kind of stuff. He didn't really get out much at all, and like, you know, he mostly read a whole bunch, and then, you know, the whole funeral home thing, and then they go out there, and then he gets killed or whatever, but he's not dead. And
yeah.
it's like, oh, I think I'm gonna go home. So she thinks he just doesn't like her or something like that, or had too much, or, you know, whatever. And then the next day we find out, oh, he's just this like weird adrenaline
Apparently
junkie. He said, I feel alive, or whatever.
He felt alive.
And said, but okay. And then he says, when can we go do something like that or whatever? Hey, let's go to downtown tonight at 2 or 3 a.m. and pick a fight with a street gang or with a stranger or something like that. Like, okay.
Remember, he lived a sheltered life, so I guess that's his idea of, like...
But why would that be your go-to?
I don't, because he doesn't know any
this
better.
This dude is clearly an insane person. But, so, okay, after that, like, she turns him down and says, like, no, I'm sorry, I don't think this is really going to work out. It's me, not you. And he's like, oh, okay. And, like, trying to figure it out or whatever. And then they split and go their separate ways or whatever. And then she ends up talking to Giles about, or I think he's, like, there kind of watching and walks up and says something.
Yeah. He offers her some kind of fatherly advice.
Yeah. And, like, I don't know, those things all together, it seemed like to me the whole point of the episode was the focus of the episode was she wants to be able to have her social life and go out and date and be a normal high schooler and balance that with her responsibilities and the difficulties that lie therein trying to have both. And it seemed like a weird, like, I don't know, it just seems strange, like, he gets killed or whatever by the vampire and she freaks out, which, perfectly normal reaction, you know, get that. But then he comes to and then turns her down, which she's upset, which, again, perfectly normal reaction, and then sees him the next day and he not only wants to be with her more, or wants to be with her still, but also wants to go out and do dangerous stuff. Like, it just seemed kind of confusing whether or not he was actually likes her, or if he's just using her to do all of this stuff, which, why did he like her before if he didn't know about all of this dangerous stuff? So why would he not like her now? Why would he just be using her?
Well,
but also, why would it seem like, why would she all of a sudden change her mind entirely about him?
Well, but she...
If not for he got killed or whatever. Like, there's just a lot going on. But right, it just seems like there's a lot going on there when it could have been a much more straightforward, he got hurt, she doesn't like that, so now they can't be together. Why does he have to be into, like, weird wanting to go start fights in the middle of the night downtown thing? Like, that just seems like a weird curveball to throw in there to me.
Well, I mean, just disregard the fact that he said, let's go start fights in the middle of downtown. Like...
Well, just that whole sentiment.
So you have a problem with the fact that he liked the danger that he was put in?
Well, it's not that he liked it. It just seemed like a weird wrinkle to the story. Like, I don't think the story is any better for him being that person, because it doesn't help her. I don't see how that helps her come to the realization that she needed to come to by the end of the story at all.
But
it's just a weird.
It kind of did, because she even brought it up when she was talking to Josh. She goes, "You, Xander, and Willow know."
You get it. You're careful.
Know the stakes, like, because he still doesn't know about vampires or anything like that at that point. He just knows there's some crazy, scary-looking dude that was trying to kill them.
But that's kind of my point.
Well, okay.
Go ahead. Sorry.
He doesn't know the stakes. He doesn't really know. And she said, "You guys are careful." Like, he probably wouldn't be careful because he has that drive in him to
Yeah.
find the danger and is attracted to the danger and likes the danger. And I feel like Buffy feels a lot of responsibility for the people around her and their safety and what they can and can't do and get themselves into and things like that. And I just feel like, because she was like, he's going to get himself killed, or I'm going to get him killed, or maybe even someone else. Like,
right.
And then, that was like more towards leaning towards Giles because he went off by himself or whatever. But I don't think it was weird.
Well, so what I'm getting at is, like you said, like he doesn't know the stakes, which, yeah, clearly, but neither does anybody else. That whole drive towards danger thing isn't required to drive the point home that any relationship she tries to be in is going to put somebody in danger potentially.
Right.
So they don't have to be somebody who wants to run towards danger. I just thought it was a weird, like, something they put in there extra, like, to let's really put this over the top with this character that doesn't really do anything, in my estimation, to help her come to the decision she came to. Like, anybody she dates who ends up in this dangerous situation because her life is dangerous will always be in danger. They don't have to want to run to danger for her to come to that realization. So why make him do that? It just seems strange to me.
I don't know.
It doesn't take away from the story.
I never thought that it was strange. Maybe it's just to kind of help the audience, like, see that.
Really drive the point home.
Because once he said all of that stuff about how, like, he's never felt more alive than when he was, like, almost killed and all this other stuff, like.
He's going to get himself hurt regardless.
Well,
she doesn't even need to be in the picture.
There's that, but to me that just meant that, whether or not he liked Buffy before, that at this point his main attraction to her is probably because
a source of dangerous situations.
Yes, and
I get that. That doesn't feel good.
It doesn't feel good, and I think he
No, I totally understand that. It just seemed like, and I'm probably oversimplifying the point of the episode too much, I guess, because that's really the only thing my whole thing hinges on is. It seemed like the point was for her to start learning the lesson in a more physical way that, hey, anybody in my personal life who I bring in to a certain level will be in danger.
Yeah.
And there may not be, depending on how things go, I may not be able to protect them as much as I would like to. And so that means I have to really change about how I think about things. And which is, the whole, like, Giles trying to teach her all of, and impress upon her this kind of same lesson, which we talked about in episodes past. It just seemed like an odd wrinkle to throw in there to drive that point home, because for that character and that specific character trait in specific, he will always put himself in danger.
Yeah.
So it's just not needed. To me, it distracts from the point the episode is trying to make.
Okay.
Because he's going to get himself in danger regardless.
Yeah. I mean...
So it doesn't seem like it drives the point home as well as it could if it was just a regular person.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Who, like, maybe that whole altercation didn't, like, made that person uneasy or whatever, but they decide that they still like Buffy or whatever, and then she realizes, oh, no matter who I'm with, like, they're always going to be in danger because he likes me and, they want to be with me, and being with me means dangerous situations, as opposed to somebody who's just admittedly going to run headfirst into those situations on their own.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that she already knows that, because from the beginning when Willow and Xander find out and they want to help and she's like, no, this is dangerous. She doesn't want to put them in that situation. So I think she already knows that anybody that has any kind of relationship with her, especially if they end up knowing her true secret, is going to be in some kind of danger at some point. And I think the fact that Owen was more willing to go out and actively look for it.
Yeah, that's really made her understand.
Yeah.
Okay, I can see that. Yeah, I get it. That's not how I thought about it first.
Yeah.
But no, I see where you're coming from now. Yeah. Overall, I mean, and this one ends on kind of a down note. You know, her like understanding the stakes at play and everything, and how they affect other people even more than she wants them to. So this one kind of ends on a somber note. Thoughts about the whole thing?
One more quick thing.
Oh, sorry, one more.
We find out that
Oh yeah, that's right.
vampire dude was not the anointed one. It was a little boy that was on the bus. He turns out to be the anointed one.
Yeah. And
then like the master says something like the anointed one will appear to the slayer, she will not know him, and he will lead her into hell. So that's the prophecy for him.
Is that part of what he's like, the anointed one will appear to the slayer? Because she never sees that kid.
No, she hasn't seen him.
So how does the anointed one appear to the slayer?
We just found out who the anointed one was. Like,
this is a further part of the... Okay, I gotcha. Well, yeah, I mean, I guess the way that they were saying it in the episode made it sound like all of that stuff that they were talking about was going to happen in that episode.
I mean, the anointed did rise.
Yeah, I don't know. It seemed to me...
And I know you had
like
issues
the
with the terms rise.
Well, yeah, because like the weird, creepy dude who's spouting off like, you know, worthiness, you know, all that kind of stuff, literally died and then rose again as a vampire. So it's kind of like muddying the waters as far as terminology goes, which I feel was probably done on purpose. But
I
don't know. It just seemed like just before out of nowhere, because like we were never given literally anything to make us think this kid could have been the anointed, and I feel like if you don't do that, then it could have been anybody on the bus. It could have been the old woman. It could have been his mom. It could have been the bus driver. Like, why? I don't know. It just feels it's less impactful if there's nothing there, because it's basically just like, oh, it wasn't him. Like, okay, cool, I guess. I mean, he died. Why would I think it was him? Like, I feel like it's supposed to be more surprising that it's the kid.
Well, yeah.
But there's no reason for us to have ever even suspected that it might be the kid.
That's why it's surprising that it's the kid.
But I guess my point is, it could have been anyone. So
True.
What does it matter? I don't know. It didn't hit me, like, when it was like, oh, it was the kid. I had no real reaction to that other than, oh, okay. I don't know. It just didn't do anything for me.
Well, I don't think it was supposed to be, like, shocking. I just feel like it was supposed to be like, you thought it was that dude, you find out it's not that dude and it's the little kid. Like, and plus, like, like, you know, the prophecy says the anointed one will appear to the slayer. She will not know him. Like, she won't know him as the anointed one. She won't suspect him as the anointed one. Yeah. So we're led to believe that she'll find this little kid in the future. A kid is, you know, you're not going to suspect a kid of being evil or whatever. Evil. Yeah. No, I mean, I get that. You know, maybe there's like that going on. I mean, I know what's happening. I know what's going on.
Sure. Well, and that's why I thought it was Owen, like why he might be involved at the very beginning. Yeah. Because he's very like nice and unassuming, and, you know, and all that kind of stuff.
That would have been a cool.
So it being a kid that she just literally has no connection to whatsoever just seemed kind of like, oh, okay, I guess. Sure.
Well, I don't necessarily she didn't have a connection to the vampire dude, the guy that came back as a vampire either.
But we're given
was just one of the people on the bus.
Like they lay it on pretty thick though that like this dude's kind of crazy and is like you know all about these weird things or whatever.
He is a red herring.
And they didn't. Well, right, but like this is probably my least favorite episode so far, just because it seemed to be there was a lot going on, but not a lot really going on at the same time.
Yeah, it's not one of my favorites.
I wouldn't call it bad because I didn't not enjoy any part of the episode. It just seemed kind of.
It's just kind of there to kind of advance things.
Yeah, it didn't seem like it really had a whole lot of reason to exist in and of itself, but it had to. So let's just do some stuff. Yeah. You know, like it didn't seem very impactful. Yeah. But again, it's introducing this new one while bridging the gap from the last two, like, Monster of the Week style stories. Owen's not really an important character, so maybe that's part of what it was, is we know this guy won't really be a big deal, or, well, most likely won't really be a big deal going forward. So spending a lot of time with him, and him not being a monster that gets killed or dealt with or whatever, just kind of feels weird, because that hasn't happened yet. But, I don't know, this one just kind of felt a little off.
Yeah.
But
that's fair.
Like you said, like, this kid, you know, is the Anointed, so he's going to be important. This is literally just the introduction, so it's not really fair to judge just this episode on introducing the idea, because there's clearly more to go. So, who knows? I may change my opinion about it as I watch the next episodes. But yeah, so far this one is probably my least favorite. Okay. Anywho, I am excited to see where all this stuff goes, though, because kids are fucking creepy. So, kids are always creepy. Always. Kids you don't know. Okay. Kids you don't know laughing about something that you don't know what they're laughing about. Creepy. Every time. Fight me.
We'll fight later.
Every time.
We'll fight later. I think it depends.
Anywho.
Alright.
Alrighty.
I think that's it.
I think we're done.
Alright.
Bye.
Bye.